Real quick, Barry Sanders, who's not in the news all that often, I guess is the subject of a pretty badass documentary on his life and times and career with the Detroit Lions. But there's some shrapnel that came out of the documentary directly aimed at former Lions quarterback Scotty Mitchell. Scott Mitchell says, "I'm so tired of hearing how I was the reason that Barry Sanders never won a Super Bowl." Okay. "I'm so tired of hearing how I was no good at quarterback. My only response is, oh, F you." Yeah. And I want to be even more specific. Yeah. That includes you, Eminem, and you, Jeff Daniels. Like, you could come up with two more random people.
Jeff Daniels woke up this morning like,
I have not seen the documentary, but I'm going to make the assumption that Eminem, as a guy from Detroit, as a Lions fan, is probably in the documentary. And I guess Jeff Daniels just doesn't like Scott Mitchell. Yeah. But again, none of us have seen it. No. But for Scott Mitchell to react like that, those two guys must unload on him in this documentary. And to be fair to Scott Mitchell, he had a 5-year career in Detroit. They made the playoffs 3 of those 5 years. Like, he was not an embarrassment as a quarterback. Yes, he's under 500, but the Lions franchise stunk. And no, he doesn't have any playoff wins, but his TD to interception rate's decent. 22 more touchdowns than interceptions. But again, 3 playoff appearances. And who are the coaches? Was that Wayne Fonts?
Oh, wow.
Was he the coach back then in 93 to 98?
Maybe.
Anyhow, I thought it was funny that he came out guns blazing towards 2 random
Jeff
people.
Daniels woke up this morning, looked at his phone. He was just like, what now?
Yeah.
He's like, what?
Yeah, and I have a life rule. I don't say anything bad about rappers because you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
You
never know.
You got to knock on your door.
Anyhow, we got more current football for you as we got 3 games tomorrow and a huge week 11. And that is Mr. Jacoby with First in Football.
So they'll be missing him for at least a few weeks. How will that impact the Ravens offense?
I think it's a big deal for them. They overcame losing their starting running back week 1, and all of a sudden you discover Keaton Mitchell, right? So you replace that pretty good. But Mark Andrews, that's a good term, a security blanket. That's what he's been for Lamar Jackson. And while Zay Flowers is the rock star rookie of the group right now, and OBJ is coming on the last couple weeks and is a bigger part of that offense, don't get it twisted how important Mark Andrews is. And I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know that it's the next week or 2.
Potentially a deep playoff.
Yeah. I don't know that he comes back all that soon. And maybe because of their record, they can absorb that for a couple weeks more than other teams could. But we talk a lot about what Travis Kelce means to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what Mark Andrews means to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Whether it's scripted or, as he said, off script, they have a connection. And you talk about this a lot, Willie. There's a trust involved. Mahomes and Kelce clearly have that. These guys have it too. And you can't overstate, just looking at the numbers right there, how important Mark Andrews is to this Baltimore Ravens offense.
Yeah, he has 45 receptions and 6 touchdowns. But if you go back to that Browns game, he was huge in that game for Lamar. 2 big red zone catches. And he's a big body tight end. He's not a small guy, kind of like a Gronk size. He's able to sit in zones, be a big target for Lamar. He's able to stretch the seams. And for Lamar, it's 100%. He said it right there. When things go awry and things aren't working,
that's my dude.
That's my guy. He's going to get us back on pace. So
now, look, they still have plenty of weapons, but it's really, it's a story that's not being talked about a lot. You lose your starting running back for the year, week 1, and now you lose your tight end, who's your go-to guy for, let's just say, a month, whatever it's going to wind up being with Andrews, if not worse than that. And this team is so damn good anyway. Yeah. And you've got an MVP candidate at quarterback again, and knock on wood, he stays healthy. I still think, I've said it a million times, the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in the AFC. With respect, obviously, to the Dolphins and the Chiefs, but they're the best.
The Kelce comparison is really astute because,
Thank you.
They rely on each other. The way the quarterback relies on him, he said off schedule, we know we're going to have a connection. They find the holes in the zone. But when Kelce wasn't there, the Chiefs receivers didn't step up. And you're looking at Zay Flowers, you're looking at OBJ, you're looking at Bateman. Like, they're going to have big games.
Prior to OBJ showing up, it was just Mark Andrews. That's all.
He was the guy.
That's his guy through and through.
Yeah, well, they do have a guy that at is very similar to our Chiefs receivers. He does drop balls. You know, Nelson Aguilar is still on that roster.
Yes.
When I see his name, I'm always like.
Quick question, if I can. It's something that just hit my mind before we get to second of football. Do you guys eat turkey on the day before Thanksgiving ever?
No.
Just as like a primer? You avoid it?
How's that even a question?
Because I was having a turkey sandwich this morning. I'm like, this is kind of awkward.
Seems a little, but you have a turkey sandwich every morning around 5:30.
It's like having birthday cake before your birthday.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Well, that sounds delicious. Second and football, moving on. What is next for Zach Wilson?
Look, Zach Wilson's going to be in the NFL as a backup somewhere. Like the league itself is not going to just give up on a 24-year-old kid who does have an arm. Like, no one's going to dispute that. It's just not going to be here. You know, there's a couple aspects to this that I appreciate and also that bother me. You know, he wasn't expected to play a single snap this year.
Yeah.
And on the 5th play of the game, he's on the field week 1, and now he's the starting quarterback, and there's legitimately no other answer. So I do think that narrative has to be told a little bit more now. What he's saying is right, though, and that is mature of him. Doesn't make him a better quarterback, but it makes him understand that he's no longer a tone-deaf quarterback in the locker room or out.
Yeah.
My job is to lead an offense, whether it's handing the ball off or throwing the ball into the end zone and get points, and we just don't do that. I'm going to be the first guy to go. I don't care what team I'm on. But we do have to have an agreement on this show that we are not going to, when we do talk about the Jets, we are not going to blame everything that's wrong with the Jets solely on Zach Wilson, because you've had 19 offensive linemen play this year. You don't have a number 2 wide receiver. You don't have a number 3, obviously, wide receiver. Your tight end play has been abysmal, although, Ruckert's come on late, right? You have running backs that are averaging less than 3.5 yards a carry. Your defense has been great, and they all come back next year. But there's a lot of other things that have gone wrong for this team beyond just, Zach Wilson sucks, period, stop.
Yeah, but I mean, his stats are glaring. You're talking about 11 and 20 as a starter. He's only had 6 passing touchdowns in 3 years. The offense is ranked 30th. And it's always going to come down to the quarterback. And I don't hate Zach Wilson. But the problem is, you always have to be, if there's deficiencies on offense, your starting quarterback has to match that. He just simply can't do it. And right now, he will play in the NFL. Yes, he'll probably land somewhere where he'll
be a backup somewhere.
Yeah, he'll be good. But right now, the Jets still don't have a quarterback.
No.
They've had 16 quarterbacks in 15 years.
Dude, it's not good.
Like, that's unreal.
We put all our eggs in Aaron Rodgers' basket. He can't predict that he was going to get hurt and that Zach was going to be forced into this spot. But it's not Robert Sala's fault. And you could certainly criticize him as a coach. Hasn't had a winning year yet. There's things that get decided above him. Namely, we're not going to give you a better quarterback on your roster. And I would say this. You have to make a decision when it comes to Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets. If we all agree that if Aaron Rodgers played, or at least if the Jets had let's just say, a top 20 quarterback in the league, that the Jets would have a winning record.
Yeah.
We can agree on that? Because the defense is so good? If you agree to that, then you can't say coaching's the problem, right?
Fair.
Because if we agree that giving him a good quarterback equates to more wins, then coaching ain't the problem. Personnel's the problem, namely, of course, the quarterback. But I think they're going to run it back next year with Robert Saleh, with Joe Douglas, and for them and for all of us in Jet Nation, fingers crossed, a healthy Aaron Rodgers. But that's the rub on it. It's not just Zach. It ain't Robert Saleh. It's the failure of everybody else who stinks on this offense. Like, I would tell you this.
There we go.
Okay. This pisses me off. Alan Lazard might be the worst wide receiver contract in the history of the NFL.
Oh, there's been worse.
No, there has not been.
Oh, yeah.
That might be the worst. Don't get me stuck. Yeah. Move on. Hey there. Thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.